This is the sixth episode of the Indic Past Series, in which I am going to give the evidences on Skanda's time as having occurred before the start of Holocene. I am going to present Tamil sources to establish this. Before Holocene started, there was a brief period called Younger Dryas, a kind of mini ice age triggered by a comet hit. It was during this time Skanda had lived. There are references in the Indic sources to show that the cometary fragments had fallen on India also. I am presenting those evidences in addition to the Tamil sources. First, let me refresh our memory by stating an event that we discussed in the previous episodes, which is essential for the current episode also, and which is about what happened at the end of Ice Age. Heat started increasing in the northern latitudes, and the Himalayan region also started feeling the heat, and the glaciers slightly started melting. And this is the region of the Amarnath peak of Rudra and Rama. But what happened? Suddenly the heat was lost, and the Icelinga was formed at that time. And the heat had transferred or shifted to the southern slopes of Gangotri. So the rising warmth was replaced by an increase in the coldness in North India. This is the Younger Dryas period between 12,900 and 11,700 BP, when Skanda was born, that we have established in the previous episodes. And this sudden change in the climate, the ushering in of a mini ice age, was caused by a comet hit, is what we gather from the scientific researchers. The comet hit of Younger Dryas had impacted India also, is what we know from a version in Mahabharata, in which Bhishma tells Yudhishthira a story which was originally told by Vasishtha. This is the same story that I have just now narrated of Agni Deva transferring the heat or energy from Shiva to Ganga, and Ganga was not able to bear the heat. That is what we have read so far. But here Vasishtha is giving an extra information that Ganga heard an Asura giving a Bhairavam Nadam Utsarjit. That is, when the deity of the blazing flames, that is Agni Deva, he cast his seed endured with great energy into the womb of Ganga, a certain Asura, bent on purposes of his own, uttered a frightful roar. That Asura who gave out the roar was not connected with Ganga or with anything around that region. In consequence of that frightful roar uttered by the Asura for purposes of his own and not for terrifying her, Ganga became very much terrified, and her eyes rolled in fear and betrayed her agitation. Deprived of consciousness, she became unable to bear her body and the seed within her womb. As a result, she allowed that seed or the energy or the heat to slide on the slopes of Gangotri, by which a reed garden was formed, and around that time Skanda was born. This is the story that we have read so far. The extra information that Vasishtha has given is that this has happened following a frightful roar by an Asura. So this is a beautiful way of giving a story, or giving in story form a comet hit. The comet had hit, and it has caused a very great noise, and that cometary fragment must have hit India or the region closer to Ganga. Only then Vasishtha could have given a story like this of Ganga hearing the noise of the Asura. Because of that, the climate has changed, a mini ice age has set in, and the heat was no longer present there. So the cometary fragments have fallen into India is being told by this version of Vasishtha, which we will be discussing in another episode later. Many independent researchers have confirmed a comet hit 13,000 years ago that wiped out many life forms and brought in a mini ice age for a duration of 1,000 years. The comet hit is speculated to have occurred around 12,800 BP or 10,800 BCE. The sudden change in the climate is beautifully captured in story form by the Indic sources, some of which we have already discussed. Here we are discussing the narration given by Vasishtha, a same narration only of Shiva being approached by the sages begging him to give birth to a son. but not enough energy has been accumulated. But since the sages have asked him, Shiva had gathered whatever energy was available until then and got what is called Urdhvaretas. And the rest of the energy he gave to the sages from which Skanda was born. And he was made the commander in chief and he destroyed the Asura Taraka. The Asura Taraka was nothing but a volcano which we already established in a previous episode. And it was tormenting people and throwing out fire. By now, the viewers must be able to understand the kind of storytelling woven by the sages. Earlier, they used the word Asura to identify a comet's roaring noise. And here, the Tarakan is also identified as Asura. So, whomever or whichever is tormenting the people, bringing out disaster, was identified as an Asura. So, these two events of the Icelinga in Amarnath just growing up to only up to a certain level and Mount Taraka getting destroyed have happened at the same time when Skanda had lived. That was the time of the Younger Dryas. So now we are going to move on to the Tamil sources to establish that only during this period Skanda has lived. From the Tamil sources it is known that Skanda had initiated the first Tamil Sangam. Tamil Sangam is a Tamil literary forum or assembly constituted by literaries where one can present one's original work in prose or poetry or some musical work or drama for review. It will be assessed by the people and approved for publication. This information is given in a Sangam age text called Irayanar Kalaviyal Urai, authored by Nakkeerar, about whom we talked in the previous episode in the context of explaining the Shanmukha concept. And this text gives the details of the number of Sangams, the people who have been present in those Sangams, and the works approved there. It says that the first Sangam was inaugurated by none other than Shiva, who destroyed Tripura. And Shiva was the presiding deity in all the Sangams. It was because Shiva was listening to the compositions, people from all over India, even people who don't know Tamil, had learnt Tamil and presented their compositions is what we come to know from the works of the Sangam age. And Shiva was accompanied with his son Muruga or Skanda, who broke the Krauncha hill. And Agastya was also there in the Sangam. And this Agastya is different from the Agastya of Ramayana period. There were two Agastyas. And we will be talking about this in a separate episode in future. And there was another one called Muranjiyur Mudinagarayar, about whom there is no information available with us. Then the next one was Nidiyan Kiravan, which translates into Dhanadipati. And Dhanadipati is Kubera. We are made to wonder whether Kubera was there in the first Sangam assembly for creating this Sangam assembly. Because Kubera and Shiva were contemporaries. Both of them belonged to Kailash. And Kubera and Indra were supposed to guard the eastern section. And Indra was the father-in-law of Skanda. So we will be discussing it later in the context of gems collected by Muruga that gives rise to an opinion that Kubera was there at that time. And the descendants of Kuberas also were known as Kubera in later times. Now, coming to the part of who judged the compositions. Till the last Sangam, it was Kumara or Skanda who had assessed the literary works, says Nakkeerar. How was it possible? It was possible through Akashavani or oracle, says the same text. So every time they decide to constitute an assembly, an oracle will be heard, and that will identify a person as Skanda or Kumara who will judge the compositions. And there is also an opinion given by a Siddha called Bogar Siddha in his book that Kumara or Skanda or Vadivela was timeless. He is in existence for all times and can be invoked at any time. Based on this concept only, even today, during the kind of propitiations or the rituals that the Skanda devotees are doing in the form of kavadi or even the piercing their cheeks or tongues, Skanda and other deities, sub-deities are invoked. So this concept is still continuing there, and Kumara is supposed to be living, or it's possible to invoke him at any time. And until the last Sangam, they have brought him in the form of someone who had judged the literary works. Now, let me derive the time period of the last Sangam assembly, so that from that I can get the time period of the first Sangam assembly. The last Sangam assembly was inaugurated by the Pandya king Ugra Perivilidi, in whose assembly Nakkeerar had published his works. Ugra Perivilidi was a contemporary of the Chola king Perunarkilli and the Chera king Marivenko. All the three of them have come together for the Rajasuya Yajna conducted by Perunarkilli, is the information that we get from Avvaya's poem found in Purananuru. Poetess Avvayar was also present on that occasion, and she was elated to see all the three together and praised them. Normally, the kings of the three dynasties used to be at war with each other over supremacy. At the most, two kings were friendly, maybe due to the matrimonial alliances. Otherwise, they have not come together like this, and this is a rare occasion that has been immortalized into a song. The interesting feature is that Avvayar, who was a contemporary of Ugra Perivilidi of the last Tamil Sangam, was also the contemporary of Adiyaman Neduman Anji, is what we come to know from her poems on Adiyaman Neduman. And this Adiyaman Neduman's Anji's inscription is found in Jambai, that gives us an idea about when he has lived. Satyaputo Adiyaman Neduman Anji Ittapadi. The inscription says that he had donated a bed, a stone bed. So this is a contemporary inscription. Suppose we can get the time period of this inscription, it is possible to get the time period of Ugra Perivilidi, and from that the last Sangam. Fortunately, the epigraphers have dated this inscription to be around 2nd century BCE, which means Ugra Perivilidi had lived around that time, and the last Sangam was constituted in the 2nd century BCE, and to be on the safer side we can say 100 BCE. The time period of Skanda of the first Sangam can be deduced from the ending time of the third Sangam around 100 BCE. There were three Sangam ages. Each Sangam age had taken place in the capital city of the Pandyas. The third Sangam age had taken place in the capital city called Uttara Madurai, says Nakkeerar. This is the present day Madurai. By having stated Uttara Madurai, we come to know that the earlier civilization has lived south of India, but now gone underwater. The third Sangam had lasted for 1950 years, by which we get the beginning date of the third Sangam at 2050 BCE. One should know that only after 2050 BCE, the Pandyan capital had shifted to the present day India. Previously, it was outside India or in an extension of India that has now gone underwater. And the second Sangam has lasted for 3700 years, says Nakkeerar, by which we get the starting date as 5750 BCE, and the capital was Kavatam. Interestingly, Kavatam finds a mention in Valmiki Ramayana. While Sugriva asked his Vanaras to search for Sita, he told them to look for Sita in Pandya's Kavatam. Those who know only Sanskrit have deciphered this as the doorway, because Kavatam means doorway or entrance. They said Pandya's entrance point or doorway. But only those who know Tamil would say that Kavatam was the capital city of the Pandyas of the second Sangam age. Knowledge of Tamil is very essential, more than anything else, for deciphering the Indic past. And since Pandyanam Kavatam is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, we can say Rama has lived during the time period of the second Sangam age with the upper limit of 5750 BCE. And Krishna also had lived during the second Sangam age, which we come to know from Nakkeerar's assertion that Tvarikoman, Dwaravati, Krishna had attended the second Sangam age. It matches with this. And before that, for 4440 years, the first Sangam was going on in a place called Dakshina Madurai, then Madurai or Southern Madurai. This is now underwater. From this, we are getting the date of the first Sangam as 10,190 BCE. So, this is the date of Skanda. Could be 50 years plus or minus only. The first Sangam was inaugurated around 10,190 BCE, means Skanda had lived 12,190 years ago, we can say, having 2000 years as the base year. When we are cross-checking this with the Younger Dryas days, we are finding it matching with the Younger Dryas period. Skanda had lived in Younger Dryas. During the Younger Dryas is what we learnt from the other sources. Here, the Tamil sources, the Tamil Sangam age dates also match with this, that Skanda had lived during the Younger Dryas days. The long list of Sangam is usually ridiculed by people, but it is true that Skanda had lived so many years ago, and the Sangam tradition had gone on for nearly 10,000 years. As a cross-reference, I am here producing a verse from Mahabharata, in which Krishna has told Yudhishthira before leaving for Dwaraka that the king of the Bhojas had conquered the Pandyas by his learning. The word he has used is Vidyabalam. The Bhoja Raja had conquered the Pandyas by Vidyabalam. So, Vidyabalam means by intellect, by knowledge. And Pandyas, definitely the Sangam assembly comes into the focus. So, the Bhoja Raja had presented his composition in Tamil. Only Tamil compositions were accepted in the Sangam assembly. The Bhoja Raja had presented his composition in the Pandyan assembly, and that was approved, accepted, applauded by everybody. That is what is meant by this. And this matches with the reference from Nakkeerar that Krishna had attended the second Sangam age. So we are able to know that Krishna had accompanied the Bhoja Raja while he presented his composition in the Pandyan assembly. Like this, we are finding everything beautifully woven together, proving that Skanda had lived during the Younger Dryas days, and Krishnavatara and Ramavatara had happened during the second Sangam age only. More evidence on Skanda's time during Younger Dryas is going to be discussed in the next episode. Please come back for the next episode. Until then, keep sharing this with others. Thank you.